On July 1st, a wave of red and white is going to sweep across a nation of almost 4 million square miles. From the rocky shores of Newfoundland to the misty forests of British Columbia, one single, massive celebration will erupt. But what if I told you that for many, this day isn't a party at all? What if Canada's biggest celebration is also its most complicated? On July 1st, 2025, Canada will mark its 158th birthday. We're definitely going to talk about the parades, the concerts, and the legendary fireworks that light up the night sky from coast to coast. But we're also going deeper. We're pulling back the curtain on the festivities to get into the story of how this day came to be, what it really represents, and why its meaning is shifting right before our very eyes. This is the story of Canada Day. The past, the present, and the future of a nation's identity, all wrapped up in a single, complex, and spectacular day. The present, a coast-to-coast spectacle. Picture this. It's the middle of summer, and an entire country, one of the largest on Earth, decides to throw a massive party. That's pretty much Canada Day. It's a federal statutory holiday marking the nation's birthday, and the celebrations are as vast and diverse as the country itself. Almost every community, from the tiniest towns to the biggest cities, hosts organized events. Think outdoor public festivals, carnivals, barbecues, and citizenship ceremonies for new Canadians. People show their pride by dressing head to toe in red and white, painting maple leaves on their faces, and waving the flag with an infectious energy. In the nation's capital, Ottawa, the celebration is monumental. The main festivities will be centered at LeBreton Flats Park, with a huge noon show and an even bigger evening concert broadcast live across the country. For 2025, the lineup for the evening show already features iconic Canadian artists like Sarah McLachlan, Tom Cochrane, and Coeur de Pie. The sky above the Ottawa River will then explode in the legendary Tim Hortons Canada Day fireworks display to cap off the night. But the party isn't just at Liberton Flats. Parliament Hill will feature a unique urban art installation of giant inflatable beavers, celebrating the 50th anniversary of the beaver becoming a national emblem. You can even start your day with an outdoor yoga session on the lawn in front of the Supreme Court of Canada, and this energy radiates across the entire country. If you head east to St. John's, Newfoundland, you can be among the first to greet the day with a sunrise ceremony at Signal Hill National Historic Site. In Montreal, the Old Port becomes a massive street party, famous for sharing a giant Canada Day cake and showcasing a thrilling mix of musical genres. Toronto, as Canada's largest city, puts on a huge celebration with events at places like Downsview Park and Mel Lastman Square, featuring live music, street performers, and of course, a spectacular fireworks display over the iconic skyline. Further west in Calgary, the day is marked with a powerful blend of celebration and culture. Events at the Confluence Historic Site in Parkland often include an Indigenous artisans market and alongside a major concert, with fireworks launched from Stampede Park and on the Pacific Coast. Vancouver hosts one of the largest parties outside of Ottawa at Canada Place. It features live music on multiple stages, a dedicated kids zone with Indigenous storytelling, and multicultural food trucks, all set against the stunning backdrop of Cole Harbour. It's a day for uniquely Canadian things. You might indulge in classic foods like poutine and butter tarts. You could take in a special Canada Day baseball game with the Toronto Blue Jays. Or you could embrace the great outdoors, with countless Canadians choosing to mark the day by hiking, canoeing, or exploring one of the country's breathtaking national parks. It's a day of immense national pride, unity, and fun. But to really get why this day is so important, we have to look back, way back, the past. More than just a birthday, so why July 1st? What actually happened on that day to kick all this off? The story starts back in 1867. On July 1st of that year, the British North America Act, which we now call the Constitution Act, was signed. This act brought together 3 separate British colonies: the province of Canada, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick. They formed a single entity called the Dominion of Canada. Now, this wasn't full independence. Canada was still a dominion within the British Empire, but it was the birth of the nation as we know it today. It could now create its own laws and its own parliament. The very next year, in 1868, the Governor-General signed a proclamation calling for all subjects of Queen Victoria across Canada to celebrate the anniversary on July 1st. But for many years, the celebrations were pretty low-key. A lot of Canadians still saw themselves as British subjects and didn't feel a strong reason to celebrate a separate Canadian identity. 1879, that a federal law made July 1st an official statutory holiday, and it was called Dominion Day. For decades, that's how it stayed. The 50th anniversary in 1917 was a quiet affair, since the country was deep in the First World War. But the 60th anniversary, the Diamond Jubilee in 1927, was a huge, government-sponsored bash that really lit a fire of national pride. As the 20th century moved on, the celebrations just got bigger. Starting in 1958, the Canadian government began to officially organize Dominion Day events on Parliament Hill, usually with military band concerts and flag ceremonies. The centennial in 1967 was a massive milestone, a year-long celebration of all things Canadian that even included a visit from Queen Elizabeth for the ceremony on Parliament Hill. The biggest change, though, came in 1982. This was a huge year for Canada. The Canada Act was passed, which brought Canada's constitution home from the British Parliament, severing the last legal ties. Canada was now a fully independent country. In that same spirit of forging a unique national identity, a private member's bill was passed in the House of Commons to officially change the holiday's name from Dominion Day to Canada Day. The bill famously passed in just 5 minutes without any debate, which stirred up some controversy at the time. But on October 27, 1982, it received royal assent, and the name was officially changed for good. This is the history we celebrate, but it's not the whole story. For many, the creation of the Dominion of Canada on July 1, 1867, wasn't a moment to celebrate. For the Indigenous peoples who have lived on this land known as Turtle Island for millennia, it represents the start of a new, painful chapter of colonialism. It brings to mind the horrific legacy of residential schools, the Indian Act, and the systemic inequalities that are still being fought today. It's a solemn reminder of a history that has often been left out of the official story. And this complex truth is fundamentally changing what Canada Day means. The future, celebration, reflection, and reconciliation. In recent years, the conversation around Canada Day has gotten a lot deeper. It's no longer just a simple birthday party. It's also become a day for reflection, education, and some difficult but necessary conversations. The joy and pride of the celebrations now exist alongside a growing awareness of the country's complicated past and a real commitment to do better. Many Canadians now use July 1st as a chance to learn about the history and contributions of Indigenous peoples, to acknowledge past injustices, and to push for meaningful reconciliation. This shift isn't about canceling the party. It's about making it more honest and inclusive. It's about understanding that national pride doesn't have to mean we ignore the painful parts of our history. We can celebrate the values of diversity and multiculturalism that define modern Canada while also facing the flaws of our past. And you can actually see this evolution happening in the celebrations themselves. Many Canada Day events across the country now actively work to include and honor Indigenous heritage. In Calgary, for example, the inclusion of an Indigenous showcase and artisan market is a core part of the city's main event. In Vancouver, Indigenous storytelling is a key feature in the Kids Zone at Canada Place. These aren't just small gestures. They represent a fundamental shift toward a more inclusive vision of what it means to be Canadian. The day is more and more being seen as a moment to reflect on the ongoing journey toward reconciliation. It is a chance to learn about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, as calls to action, and to think about our own roles in building a more equitable future. For many, this means facing the hard truths of Canada's history with Indigenous peoples, acknowledging that the celebration is happening on ancestral lands, and working to build better relationships. The anger, sadness, and shame that this history brings up for so many are now being recognized as a valid and necessary part of the Canada Day experience. So, as we look toward July 1st, 2025, we see a holiday in transition. It's becoming a day that holds space for more than one truth. It is a day for fireworks and festivals, but also for quiet reflection. It's a day to wear red and white with pride, and also a day to wear an orange shirt in solidarity and remembrance. It's a day that looks back at the 1867 Confederation, while also looking forward to a future built on a more complete and honest understanding of our shared history. Canada Day is endlessly decentralized. There's no single right way to observe it. It reflects the multifaceted identity of the nation itself. So, here's our question to you. How will you be marking Canada Day 2025? What does this day mean to you? Will you be at a parade, a barbecue, or watching the fireworks? Will you be taking time to reflect and learn? Share your plans and your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about what it means to be Canadian, right here, right now. On July 1st, 2025, Canada turns 158. It's going to be a day of spectacular celebration, a vibrant display of national pride from coast to coast to coast. But it's also going to be more than that. It's a day layered with history, a day that invites us to look back at the creation of a country and to grapple with everything that means. It's a day that's evolving, becoming more inclusive, more reflective, and more honest. It's a day that proves a country can celebrate its achievements while still acknowledging its failures, and can find unity not in ignoring its complexities, but in embracing them. It's a day to celebrate Canada not just for what it has been, but for what it is striving to become. However you choose to mark it, have a meaningful Canada Day.